4. The ball is in the front court. 4.1. The ball is above the free throw line. 4.11. Responsibility and coverage by officials. Points of emphasis. In three-person officiating, the basic coverage of the play by the official is as follows. The play around the ball on the ball when it is in the area of responsibility. The play away from the ball, off the ball, when it is in another official's area of responsibility. The blue team controls the ball in their front court. The trail and the lead are on opposite side. The trail is watching blue 10 and blue 12 with the ball and above the free throw line. The lead should control the two players in the low post positions on the opposite side. The center controls the two pairs of opponents on the weak side of the restricted area. White 5 moves the ball to the front court. The center is on table side. The lead and the trail are on the opposite side. When the ball is passing to white 13 above the three-point line in front of the basket, both the trail and the center are watching the ball. But for the center, the players on the weak table side are the most important. The lead should observe the players below the three-point line. Points of emphasis. When the ball is in the front court above the free throw line, the main responsibility of the trail or the center is to watch the play around the ball when it is on his side of the court. Knowing where the ball is located on the court is not the same as watching the ball. Red 8 passes the ball to Red 9 at the three-point line, who then passes it to Red 10. The trail on the opposite side of the court is responsible for the on-the-ball coverage when the ball is located in his area. He watches the ball from the sideline onto the court, then is called outside in. He has the best angle of vision. Red 10 accidentally falls down and blue 11 tries to catch the ball. The trail moves close to the players, judges that there is no foul, and calls held ball. In the beginning of the action, the trail on the table side is in the best position to see the players around the ball. It is in his area of primary coverage and responsibility. But when white moves to the opposite side, the trail begins mainly to control the players away from the ball. With a pass back to white 10, the player with the ball above the free throw line is the prime responsibility of the trail. A traveling violation is called by the lead, but the call should have been made by the trail. White 14 is free to receive the ball, and he passes it to white 13. The trail is on the same table side, watching both the offensive and the defensive players. White 5 receives the ball from white 4, far above the three-point line. White 11 comes to receive the ball on the table side. The trail is responsible for watching the play around the ball, in particular the action of the screener, white 13, the white player, dribbler, and two defensive players guarding them. When the ball is in this area of the court, the trail has primary responsibility for the on-the-ball coverage. White 4 has the ball and passes it to a teammate. Using the post players as a screen, white 4 moves to the opposite side to the center's area and receives the ball again. White 14 sets another screen. The trail on the table side and the center on the opposite side watch the dribbler. The area where the players are around the ball can be considered the area of double coverage. The center calls a foul on blue 8. Black 7 has the ball above the three-point line on the opposite side. White 7 switches and guards the dribbler, who moves to the table side. The center watches the players near the three-point line and controls Black 7, who has the ball. The pass to Black 13 is blocked by White 12 by deliberately touching the ball with his foot, and the center calls the violation. The ball is passed between Red 10 and Red 8. The center is watching the play away from the ball in the restricted area. Finally, the ball comes to Red 6 on the opposite side of the court. It is not necessary to watch the ball to know where it is being played. Red 9 and White 9, who fight for their position in the restricted area, are under the responsibility of the lead and the center. Here it is the center who calls the foul. Point of emphasis. When the ball is in the front court above the free throw line on the side of the trail, the main responsibility of the center and the lead is off the ball coverage. Blue 9 dribbles the ball from the back court to the front court. In order to become free, Blue 10 at the free throw line moves using Blue 6 as a screener. All these actions are near the center on the opposite side. Blue 6 sets a screen and moves. A foul is called, but it was the lead who called the foul in the area of the responsibility of the center. Blue 14 dribbles from the back court and the play develops on the opposite side. The lead is responsible for the off-the-ball coverage in the restricted area. Blue 4 moves across the area with a screen set for him by his teammate near the lead. In any screening situation, the official should carefully watch both the offensive and defensive actions. Here, the lead calls a blocking foul on Red 11. The White team gets the rebound and moves to the front court. When White 5 with the ball is halfway between the center and the three-point line, White 14 tries to establish a position in the restricted area. This play should be covered by the lead. White 14 elbows Blue 10 and receives the ball under the basket. An obvious foul is missed by the lead. Any elbowing, backing into someone, pushing off, holding with hands are fouls. Too much rough and violent play can lead to the officials losing control of the game. Any such plays must be promptly penalized. White 5 dribbles the ball near the table sideline. The trail is close by carefully watching the players around the ball. White 14 is trying to set a low post position in the restricted area, and Red 8 by guarding him and tries to keep his own position. The lead should pay particular attention to the post play and to the amount of physical contact that can be allowed. If there is any rough play, it is his responsibility to penalize it. The lead should recognize whether a player is legally trying to move into a new position and if he is being illegally prevented by an opponent from doing so. The foul on White 14 is called by the trail, but the call should have been made by the lead. White 15 illegally uses his arm to prevent an opponent from getting around him. An offensive foul is called by the lead. White 11 passes the ball to White 9 above the three-point line and moves towards the opponent's basket. He sets a screen for his teammate inside the restricted area. The lead is responsible for this area, and when Red 9 pushes his opponent, the lead calls a foul. Three-point field goal coverage. The areas of responsibility for three-point field goal attempts are generally shared between the trail and the center. White 15 receives a pass from White 10 and accepts a three-point shot. The trail on the table side is primarily responsible for this shot taken on his side. After the rebound, the ball is again controlled by the White team, and this time a three-point attempt is made from the corner of the opposite side. For the shot taken on this side, the center is primarily responsible. The Red players move the ball to the opposite side, and Red 4 attempts a three-point shot. The center anticipates a three-point field goal attempt and adjusts his positions to clearly judge it. This is correct. Blue 8 catches a pass from Blue 6 and attempts a three-point shot. The shot is made from the area of double coverage. The center and the trail anticipate a three-point field goal attempt and both adjust their positions to clearly judge the attempt. When a three-point field goal is successful, the officials signal this by raising their both arms above their heads and three fingers extended. After the rebound, the white team starts a fast break. White 4 finishes it with a shot, having his feet on the three-point line when the shot is attempted. The center adjusts his position to judge the attempt clearly. He watches the feet of the shooter in relation to the three-point line and signals that the shot is only for 2 points. The confirmation by the trail on the table side is not necessary from a mechanical point of view. Points of emphasis. When one official, the trail or the center, signals a successful three-point field goal, the other, the center or the trail, mirrors the signal. Blue 12 at the table side is closely guarded. He passes the ball to the opposite side, and Blue 6 attempts a three-point shot. The center, in whose area the player is in, signals a three-point shot attempt by raising one arm with three fingers extended. The trail on the table side mirrors the signal. The center continues to watch the shooter and his opponent. The trail is primarily responsible for the flight of the ball in this shooting situation. When the ball enters the basket, the trail signals the successful three-point shot by raising both arms above his head with three fingers extended. The center mirrors the signal. After a few passes, the blue team moves the ball to the corner of the court at the opposite side. Blue 6's shot is covered by the trail. It is not necessary to watch the ball all the time when it is above the free throw line, but it is important to anticipate the three-point shot and to react accordingly on the partner's signal. The trail signals, the center on the table side mirrors. The red team, after several passes on the table side, moves the ball to the red 13 on the opposite sideline. A successful three-point shot is signaled by the trail and mirrored by the center. This is the good example that officials should not turn their backs on players or court when signaling. It is not necessary for the lead, who is also at the table side, to signal the attempt by raising one arm with three fingers extended. 4.2 Penetration. Points of emphasis. When the ball is moved to the basket and is near and below the free throw line, the lead is mainly responsible for the play around the ball and must be attentive in finding the best possible position to clearly see every action. White 7 controls the ball at the center line, with red 10 guarding the offensive player. In the beginning, the actions of the players around the ball are controlled by the trail, but when white 7 starts to move towards the basket and passes the free throw line, the lead becomes responsible for this play. By establishing a good position, the lead can see the contact and calls a foul on red 10. Blue 8 controls the ball on the opposite side near the trail. He penetrates into the restricted area, moving diagonally, and contact with white 10 occurs. Even if the center could see everything perfectly from his position, it does not decline the responsibility of the lead to cover the play in this area. Unfortunately, the lead is not moving, staying between the opposite sideline and the line of the restricted area. In this particular position, he cannot see the play clearly. He is screened by white 10 and white 14. The next play is similar to the previous one and happens in the other half of the court. Here the trail and the lead are at the table side. But again, while the penetration takes place and is near and to the right of the basket, the lead is not moving, staying on the left of the basket, at the line of the restricted area. He made a call. He has not seen the opponents clearly, and the center was ready to make a different decision. Blue 10 moves towards the basket from the opposite side, where the trail and the lead establish their positions. The center on the table side has an excellent vision of the defensive player, but for this layup, it is the lead who is in the best position to make the decision. The ball is passed to White 7 from the opposite side to the table side of the court. The penetration of White 7 in the defensive play of Red 10, close to the basket, should be controlled by the lead. He has a good angle of vision, but the center is in preferable position to judge the play. This penetration is the key point of attack, and both officials have practically the same responsibility. Points of emphasis. When a penetration toward the basket begins, the center must follow the movement of the ball. White 5 is guarded by two defensive players, Blue 4 and Blue 11. White 5 notices his free teammate, White 13, and passes the ball to him. The penetration of White 13 is covered by the trail and the lead. But it was the center who correctly calls the foul from the opposite side. It must be understood that any of the three officials can call any obvious foul or violation in any part of the court, if the situation demands it. In this case, the center is on the table side. When White 10 starts to control the ball in front of the basket with 6 players in the restricted area, White 10 and his defensive players are controlled by the trail. The other players away from the ball are under the responsibility of the lead. Those who are on the table side must be closely watched by the center. Nevertheless, when White 10 penetrates into the restricted area, the center switches his attention to this action and correctly calls a foul on the defensive player, Blue 4. Red 5 dribbles in the backcourt, then in the front court. He controls the ball for 15 seconds and finally dribbles towards the basket. White 9 guards Red 5 and fouls him. The center covers the action that is to accompany the move of the ball towards the basket from the start to the end and judges the situation. With no call made by the close lead, it is important that the foul was called by one of the other officials. Points of emphasis. When a dribbler penetrates into the restricted area, the trail must cover the play equally with the center and the lead. White 14 at the three-point line has Red 12 in front of him. White 14 tries to beat his opponent entering the restricted area, but the defensive play by Red 12 is excellent. The trail has the correct position to assist the lead with penetration. He correctly calls a charging foul on White 14, simultaneously with the lead. After a successful pick and roll, Blue 10 receives the ball and dribbles from the three-point line, penetrating into the restricted area. This move is mainly covered by the lead and the center, who are close to the play and in proper positions. However, when Blue 10 passes to Blue 8, near and to the right of the basket, the lead is practically alone in front of the players with the ball. It is very important that the trail can clearly see the shot and judges the action, effectively assisting the lead. 4.3. The ball is below the free throw line. 4.3.1. The primary and secondary areas of responsibility. Points of emphasis. The primary task of the lead and center is the on-the-ball coverage when the ball is below the free throw line and on their side of the court. Blue 5 passes the ball to Blue 13, who enters the restricted area with the ball and attempts a shot for a field goal. The lead watches the action in his area of responsibility from the start to the end and correctly calls a foul on White 10. When Blue 12 passes the ball to his teammate on the opposite side, the lead has to control 4 players around the ball. The lead is able from this position to watch the action of Blue 15, who tries to beat White 4, and notices that White 4 has illegally extended his foot to cause an obstruction. White 14 receives a pass in front of the basket at the free throw line, closely guarded. The lead behind the end line moves closer to the backboard, choosing the perfect position, and watches the play. He anticipates the development of the attack and concentrates on these 2 opponents. In this action, we shall see later the lack of concentration of the lead. Blue 12 dribbles the ball and Blue 5 makes a pick and roll. When Blue 5 receives a pass from his teammate, who is already facing the basket, White 9 pushes the offensive player in his back. The lead is responsible for the shooter, but he is not in a good position to see the space between the players and misses the foul. Fortunately, the call was made by one of his partners. The White team has the ball above the free throw line extended, to the left of the scorer's table. The lead watches the players away from the ball in the restricted area on the opposite side. This allows him to react properly as soon as the ball is passed in his direction. In this case, to White 9, when Blue 5 is pushing him. This is an obvious foul, and there is a good on-the-ball coverage. White 14 catches the ball after the rebound and is closely guarded by 2 opponents at the table side close to the center. The center correctly calls a foul. White 14 is fouled by Green 11. Blue 10 dribbles the ball in the front court on the table side in the area of responsibility of the center. Blue 10 crosses the restricted area and the center calls a holding foul on Red 11. This is correct. Powerful pivot, White 14 attacks the opponent's basket in the restricted area. Blue 14 is trying to block the shot but fouls. The excellent position of the center at the opposite sideline allows him to call a foul immediately. Point of emphasis. When the ball is played below the free throw line, not in the area of the lead or center, their primary task is to watch the situations away from the ball. When the ball is on the side of the center, the main responsibility of the lead is the low post area on the weak side, paying careful attention to any play in and out of the restricted area. He must control the post players. The White team has the ball in the front court. The ball is passed to White 10 to the opposite side. While White 10 is moving near the end line, the center watches the players in the restricted area away from the ball. Red 5 passes the ball to Red 10, who is on the opposite side of the court, below the free throw line extended. The actions of the players around the ball are covered by the lead. This time the center mainly controls Red 9 and White 5 in the restricted area. He should call a foul on Red 9 for elbowing, but he misses it, and it is good that the lead calls it. Points of emphasis. When the ball is played between the basket and the free throw line, and if the trail feels, the decisive action shall take place close to the basket. He must be active in covering this play. The ball is passed to Blue 14, who attempts a shot with White 14 defending. The trail chooses a position that enables him to cover the action and calls a foul, together with the lead. The red team has the ball at the opposite side in their front court. This is the strong side of the court, and both the lead and the trail are there. Red 15 passes the ball to the post player, Red 5, and White 13 is defending. Red 5 makes a fake and starts to dribble, but lifts his pivot foot before releasing the ball from his hands. With two officials watching the play, it is the trail who calls the obvious traveling. This is excellent, and it shows the advantage of three-person officiating. 4.3.2 Rotation. Points of emphasis. The lead moves to the ball side and stays there when the ball is dribbled, passed to the player, or rebounds to the other side of the court. In other words, when the ball penetrates beyond the free throw line extended nearest the center. The lead official is responsible for initiating the rotation. After 15 seconds of possession of the ball by the black team, the ball is passed to black 14 on the opposite side below the free throw line. Here, the center establishes his position, but it is time for the lead to rotate. White 15 above the three-point line in front of the basket passes the ball to a teammate in the restricted area. He dribbles to the opposite sideline and the lead moves to the ball side. The ball is returned to White 15 and the lead switches his attention to the players moving in the restricted area. He is in a good position to cover the ball and calls correctly a foul on Blue 10, who holds White 11. Ball is passed to Blue 15, who is on the opposite side near the restricted area. He dribbles, and White 13 fouls him. The center calls the foul in the area of the court that should also be covered by the lead. The pass to Blue 15 made the opposite side the strong side, and two officials should be there, but no rotation has been initiated by the lead. This is incorrect. When the blue team moves the ball to the free throw line and then below, the lead initiates the rotation. The lead correctly calls the blocking foul on White 13. White 6 dribbles the ball on the table side to the free throw line, but then moves backwards above the three-point line. In this play, the lead is not required to initiate the rotation. White 6 dribbles to the opposite side where the lead and the trail were originally positioned. Eye contact is very important. Both the center and the trail must be alert to change positions when initiated by the lead. When the ball moves from the table side to the opposite side, the lead moves, changes positions, and initiates the rotation. The center then moves backwards, becoming the trail, and the trail on the table side is now the new center. This is correct. The officials must be constantly watching and trying to cover the whole floor, as well as being aware of where their partners are positioned. When the ball moves from the table side to the corner of the opposite side, the lead moves, changes position, and initiates the rotation. The center and the trail do not change their positions, so that the lead and the center are on the same side of the court. When the center finally moves backwards to become the new trail, there are two trails on the court. This is incorrect. In this play, the red team moves the ball to the opposite side, and the lead follows the ball. The center and the trail support their partner, but when the ball moves once again to the table side, the lead moves there, and the trail and the center keep to their sides. The play changes direction, and the lead and the center appear to be on the same side. Finally, the moment when the foul is called, there are two leads, one on the table side and the other on the opposite side. When white 6 and white 14 begin to play with the ball on the table side, the lead correctly moves there. The center moves to the trail position but continues to control the movements of the players. With two officials on the table side, one of them, namely the trail, calls a foul on white 14 for elbowing. This is a good example of eye control by the former center. The ball is played on the opposite side of the lead and the trail, but then moves below the free throw line. The center is on the table side where the ball is now. The center moves backwards to the trail position, closer to the scorer's table. When the 24-second signal sounds, the new trail signals the violation. Black 14 passes to black 8 on the opposite side of the restricted area. In this good example, both the center and the trail anticipate the rotation simultaneously with the lead. The lead and the trail cover the play around the ball. The center watches the offensive player in the restricted area and correctly calls a 3-second violation. 4.4. Goaltending and interference. Points of emphasis. The division of responsibility between officials for calling goaltending or interference depends on the location from which the shot is taken and on the game situation. Normally, the trail or the center are responsible for watching the flight of the ball during a shot for a field goal, and therefore they must make the decision concerning goaltending and interference. Blue 4 receives the ball near the sideline and penetrates into the restricted area. The lead initiates the rotation, and the center steps back to become the trail. Whilst moving to the new positions, all of the officials must continue to watch for a continuation of play. The ball is on the ring, and the defensive player touches the net. The center, or trail, is primarily responsible for goaltending and interference violations. Here, the new trail calls interference. White 9 beats Blue 4 by penetrating into the restricted area and attempts to score. The ball hits the backboard and then is touched by a defensive player, Blue 15. A goaltending violation is called by the trail from the opposite side and by the center from the table side. .5 Rebounds. Points of emphasis. In rebound situations, all three officials must be attentive and equally active. Any illegal contact which has a direct effect on the play should be penalized irrespective of which official makes the call. White 9 dribbles to the end line and then passes the ball back to White 10, who attempts a 3-point shot from the table side. White 13 and Red 13 are under the basket. Red 13 holds his opponent with his arm. The ball rebounds to the strong side where the lead and the trail are standing. In this situation, it is the center's responsibility for the rebound situation on the other side. As the ball moves to the other half of the court, Red 15 shoots for a field goal. Red 12 takes a position in front of the defensive player, White 10, who pushes Red 12 in the back. This can be clearly seen from the center and the trail positions, but again, no call is given by either of them. As a result, the lead calls a foul on Red 12, only for the next illegal contact. After a free throw, the white team continues to keep the ball. White 11 shoots and the players of both teams go for the rebound. The center covers this play, and with no call from the lead and the trail, it is the center who makes the correct call. This is an advantage of three-person officiating, as some fouls are called by the additional third official. Points of emphasis. On field goal attempts, the lead shall be mainly responsible for ball side rebounds where he is standing, and for the rebounds in front of the basket. White 14 takes a